Billionaire father sees black waitress let his disabled son lead a dance step, and he changes her life forever. But I'm in a wheelchair, Jamie said, confusion and hope warring in his voice. So? Stacy smiled. Some of the most beautiful dancing I've ever seen has been done by people in wheelchairs. The chair doesn't define the dance, the dancer does. Would you like me to show you? Stacy asked Jamie, her voice gentle but confident. Tyler's protective instincts immediately kicked in. Oh, I don't think. Dad, Jamie interrupted, his voice stronger than Tyler had heard it in months. Please, let her show me how to dance? Stacy moved Jamie to the dance floor. He started slowly, but soon he was captivated by the dance. Look at me, Dad, Jamie called out, his face radiant with happiness. I'm dancing. Tyler felt his own eyes fill with tears. His son was truly happy for the first time since the accident. If you love beautiful and emotional stories like this, subscribe and like this video. Type kindness and where you're watching from in the comments, because this story is about to blow your mind. Tyler Ford was the kind of man people noticed when he walked into a room. At 45, he carried himself with the confidence that came from building Ford Industries from a garage startup into a multi-billion-dollar tech empire. His perfectly tailored charcoal suits and expensive watches told only part of his story, the successful part. What they couldn't reveal was the hollow ache that had lived in his chest for the past 3 years. The car accident had taken everything that mattered. His wife Sarah, the love of his life, had died on impact. Their 12-year-old son Jamie had survived, but the crash left him paralyzed from the waist down. In one terrible moment, Tyler had gone from having everything to desperately trying to hold together the pieces of what remained. Jamie Ford was brilliant, his mind sharp as his father's, his curiosity boundless despite his circumstances. But the boy who used to fill their house with laughter and endless questions had grown quiet. Too quiet. Tyler had hired the best physical therapists, the most qualified caregivers, sent Jamie to the finest private school. Yet somehow, in trying to give his son everything, he'd managed to make him feel isolated from the world. 20 miles across town, Stacy Williams was finishing her second shift of the day. At 28, she moved through the upscale dining room of Bella Vista with practiced grace, her warm smile never faltering, even when her feet ached and exhaustion tugged at her shoulders. She was beautiful in a way that seemed to glow from within. Her dark skin radiant under the restaurant's soft lighting, her eyes holding a depth that spoke of both dreams and struggles. Stacy was fighting her own battles. As a single mother to 8-year-old Mia, she worked double shifts just to keep their small apartment and pay for her daughter's school supplies. Hidden beneath her professional exterior was a heart that still danced to rhythms only she could hear. She'd been a professional dancer once, had even made it to Juilliard on a full scholarship. But life had other plans, and now those dreams felt like beautiful memories locked away in a box she rarely dared to open. Tyler pushed Jamie's wheelchair through the elegant entrance of Bella Vista, trying to project the confidence he didn't feel. It was Jamie's 12th birthday, and Tyler was desperately attempting to create some semblance of normalcy in their fractured world. The restaurant buzzed with quiet conversation and the gentle notes of a jazz trio performing in the corner. "Dad, do we have to do this?" Jamie's voice was barely above a whisper, his eyes fixed on his hands folded in his lap. Tyler's heart clenched. "It's your birthday, buddy. I thought you might like to try somewhere new." They were seated at a corner table with a clear view of the small dance floor where a few couples swayed to the music. Tyler watched his son's face, searching for any sign of the joy that used to light up Jamie's features. Instead, he saw his son's gaze drift to the dancing couples, and something flickered across his expression. Longing so raw it was painful to witness. "I used to dance with Mom," Jamie said softly, his words barely audible over the music. "She said I was getting really good at it." Tyler felt his throat tighten. Sarah had been the one who knew how to reach their son, how to make him laugh when the world felt too heavy, how to help him dream beyond his circumstances. Tyler had built an empire, but he couldn't figure out how to build a bridge to his own child's heart. As they sat in uncomfortable silence, Tyler noticed their waitress approaching. She moved differently than the other servers. There was something fluid about her gait, something graceful that caught his attention even in his distracted state. "Good evening," she said, her voice warm and genuinely welcoming. "I'm Stacy, and I'll be taking care of you tonight. Is this a special occasion?" Tyler was about to respond when Jamie looked up for the first time since they'd arrived. "It's my birthday," he said quietly, and Tyler was surprised to hear his son speak at all. Stacy's smile broadened and she crouched down to Jamie's eye level. The gesture Tyler noticed and appreciated. "Well, happy birthday. That's wonderful. How old are you turning?" 12, Jamie replied, and Tyler saw the faintest hint of a smile tugging at his son's lips. 12 is a great age, Stacy said with genuine enthusiasm. That's when you start figuring out who you really want to be. As she took their order, Tyler found himself studying this young woman. There was something about her presence that seemed to bring light into their corner of the restaurant. She didn't look at Jamie with pity or awkwardness the way so many people did. She looked at him like he was just a kid celebrating his birthday, which was exactly what he was. When Stacy returned with their drinks, she lingered for a moment, her professional instincts picking up on the subtle tension at the table. She'd served thousands of customers, and she could read the signs, the way Tyler's shoulders carried invisible weight, the sadness that seemed to emanate from Jamie despite it being his birthday. "You know," she said gently, setting down Jamie's soda, "I couldn't help but notice you watching the dancers. Do you like music?" Jamie's eyes lit up slightly. "I used to. My mom and I would dance in our living room all the time. She taught me the waltz and everything." Tyler watched in amazement as his son opened up to this stranger in a way he hadn't with anyone in months. There was something about Stacy's presence that felt safe, authentic, in a way that their carefully constructed world of caregivers and therapists somehow wasn't. "That's beautiful," Stacy said, and Tyler could hear the genuine emotion in her voice. "Your mom sounds like she was pretty special." "She was," Jamie said softly, "but I can't dance anymore." He gestured to his wheelchair with a matter-of-fact sadness that broke Tyler's heart. Stacy knelt down again, bringing herself to Jamie's level. "Can I tell you something? I'm a dancer too, and I've learned that dancing isn't really about your legs. It's about your heart, your spirit, the way you move to express what's inside you." Tyler found himself leaning forward, captivated by this conversation he'd never imagined having in a restaurant on his son's birthday. "But I'm in a wheelchair. I can barely stand up well, not to talk of dance," Jamie said, confusion and hope warring in his voice. "So?" Stacy smiled. "Some of the most beautiful dancing I've ever seen has been done by people in wheelchairs. The chair doesn't define the dance. The dancer does." Tyler felt something shift in his chest. This woman was speaking to his son with a respect and understanding that was completely natural, as if seeing possibilities where everyone else saw limitations was the most normal thing in the world. "I understand loss," Stacy continued quietly, her eyes meeting Tyler's briefly before returning to Jamie. "I know what it feels like when it seems like part of your world has been taken away. But sometimes, when we think we've lost everything, we're really just being prepared to discover something new about ourselves." Tyler studied Stacy's face, seeing layers of experience and wisdom that went far deeper than her years should have allowed. There was a story here, he realized, something that had shaped this remarkable young woman into someone who could see light in the darkest corners. Jamie was sitting up straighter now, more engaged than Tyler had seen him in months. "Do you really think I could still dance?" "I don't think it," Stacy said with quiet conviction. "I know it." Stacy glanced around the restaurant, noting that her other tables were settled and the evening crowd was in that comfortable lull between dinner and dessert. The jazz trio was playing a gentle ballad, and couples were swaying on the small dance floor. "Would you like me to show you?" Stacy asked Jamie, her voice gentle but confident. Tyler's protective instincts immediately kicked in. "Oh, I don't think—" "Dad," Jamie interrupted, his voice stronger than Tyler had heard it in months. "Please?" Tyler looked at his son's face, saw hope flickering there like a candle flame that had been guttering but wasn't quite ready to go out. How could he say no to that? Stacy stood and moved behind Jamie's wheelchair. "Dancing is about connection," she explained, placing her hands lightly on his shoulders. "It's about feeling the music and letting it move through you. Your upper body, your arms, your head, they can all be part of the dance." She began to guide Jamie through gentle movements, showing him how to sway with the rhythm, how to move his arms expressively, how to let his shoulders and head follow the music's flow. At first, Jamie was tentative, self-conscious, but as Stacy continued to encourage him, something magical began to happen. Jamie started to smile. Not the polite, half-hearted smile he'd been giving Tyler for months, but a real, genuine expression of joy. His movements became more fluid, more confident. He began to lead their gentle dance, his arms moving with natural grace as he felt the music flow through him. Other diners began to notice. Conversations quieted as people turned to watch this unexpected and beautiful moment unfolding in the corner of the restaurant. Tyler saw tears in several people's eyes, but they weren't tears of pity. They were tears of recognition, of witnessing something purely joyful and authentic. "Look at me, Dad," Jamie called out, his face radiant with happiness. "I'm dancing." But their magical moment was suddenly interrupted by a sharp voice cutting through the gentle applause. "Williams, what do you think you're doing?" Stacy froze as Mr. Rodriguez, the restaurant manager, strode across the dining room with a thunderous expression. Tyler watched as the color drained from Stacy's face, but she kept her hands protectively on Jamie's shoulders. "I was just—" Stacy began. "You were just what? Abandoning your other tables to put on a show?" Rodriguez's voice carried across the restaurant, causing several diners to look up uncomfortably. "This is a high-end establishment, not a community center." Tyler felt his jaw clench as he watched this man humiliate the woman who had just given his son the most precious gift imaginable. "Sir, she was helping my son," Tyler interjected, his voice controlled but firm. Rodriguez barely glanced at Tyler before turning back to Stacy. "I've warned you before about getting too involved with customers. This is your final warning, Williams. If I see you pulling stunts like this again, dancing no less, you're fired. Do I make myself clear?" The restaurant had gone completely quiet now. Tyler could see the shame and fear in Stacy's eyes, but also something else, a quiet determination. "Yes, sir," Stacy said softly. "Crystal clear." Rodriguez stalked away, and the normal buzz of conversation slowly resumed. Tyler expected Stacy to retreat, to apologize, and distance herself from the situation that had nearly cost her job. Instead, she knelt down beside Jamie's wheelchair and spoke in a voice only they could hear. "Are you okay, sweetheart?" she asked, her concern entirely focused on Jamie, despite what had just happened to her. "I'm sorry I got you in trouble," Jamie whispered, his earlier joy replaced by guilt. Stacy's expression softened completely. "You listened to me, Jamie Ford. You have nothing to be sorry for. What we just did, that was beautiful. That was real, and no one can take that away from us, okay?" Tyler watched in amazement as Stacy's priority remained completely with his son, even though she'd just been publicly humiliated and threatened with losing her job. "But what if he fires you?" Jamie asked, his young voice heavy with worry. Stacy glanced up at Tyler, then back at Jamie. "You know what? Some things are more important than a job. Your happiness, your joy, your right to dance, those are worth any risk." Tyler felt something profound shift inside his chest. Here was a woman who had just put everything on the line, not for money, not for recognition, but simply because she believed a 12-year-old boy deserved to feel the joy of dancing. As they returned to their table, Tyler found himself studying Stacy with new eyes. Who was this woman who could see possibilities where everyone else saw limitations? Who could bring his son back to life with nothing more than understanding and encouragement? The threat to her job hadn't made Stacy step back. If anything, it had shown her true colors more clearly than ever before. There's so much to this story, so make sure you stay tuned, and don't forget to like and share this video. The birthday dinner became the first of many visits to Bella Vista. Every Friday evening, Tyler would bring Jamie to the restaurant, and their corner table became a sanctuary of sorts. Stacy would always find time to chat with Jamie, to encourage his progress, and slowly, something beautiful began to unfold. Jamie started talking again. Really talking. He told Stacy about school, about the books he was reading, about ideas he had for inventions. He asked her about dancing, about music, about her dreams. Tyler watched in amazement as his son came back to life, week by week, conversation by conversation. During their fourth visit, as Stacy cleared their dessert plates, Jamie asked her about her own family. "I have a daughter," Stacy said, her face lighting up. "Mia, she's 8, and she's the smartest, funniest little girl you'd ever want to meet." "Does she dance too?" Jamie asked. Stacy's smile faltered slightly. "She wants to. She asks me all the time to teach her, but..." She trailed off, then seemed to shake herself. "I don't get much time at home, I work a lot." Tyler, who had developed a businessman's instinct for reading between the lines, heard what she wasn't saying. He'd done some discreet research after their first meeting, not because he was suspicious, but because he was curious about this remarkable woman who had given his son such a gift. "Stacy," Tyler said carefully, "forgive me if this is too personal, but are you working multiple jobs?" She hesitated, clearly uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation. "I do what I need to do," she said simply. Over the following weeks, the picture became clearer. Stacy worked at Bella Vista 4 nights a week, cleaned offices on weekends, and took on catering gigs whenever she could find them. She was struggling to keep up with rent, utilities, and her daughter's school expenses. One evening, Tyler noticed Stacy looked particularly tired. When Jamie asked if she was okay, her composure cracked slightly. "I might have to move Mia to a different school," she admitted quietly. "The private school she's at now. I'm behind on the tuition, and we might have to find a cheaper apartment." Tyler saw the pain in her eyes, the way she was trying to hold it together in front of Jamie. Here was a woman who had given his son the world, and she was drowning in financial stress. "Why don't you have family to help?" Jamie asked with the innocent directness of a child. Stacy's expression grew distant. "My husband died when Mia was 3. He was deployed overseas. And my mother, I lost her 2 years ago." Tyler felt his heart constrict. This woman understood loss in ways that mirrored his own experience. She was fighting to build a life for her daughter, just as he was fighting to rebuild one for his son. "I used to dance professionally," Stacy continued, surprising them both with her openness. "I had dreams of my own studio, of teaching kids who might not otherwise have access to dance education. But life had other plans." Tyler filed away every detail, his mind already working on possibilities. But what he discovered when he dug deeper into Stacy's background would make him question everything he thought he knew about sacrifice and strength. Tyler's research into Stacy Williams revealed a story that left him sitting in his home office at 2 a.m, staring at his computer screen in amazement. This wasn't just any waitress who had shown kindness to his son. This was a woman whose sacrifice and strength rivaled anything Tyler had ever encountered in the business world. Stacy had graduated from Juilliard School of Dance with honors. She'd been offered positions with prestigious dance companies in New York and Los Angeles. Her professors had described her as exceptionally gifted and destined for greatness. She'd been on the verge of signing a contract with the American Ballet Theatre when everything changed. Her mother had been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Without hesitation, Stacy had walked away from her dance career to care for the woman who had raised her as a single mother, who had worked 3 jobs to pay for Stacy's dance lessons and private school education. For 2 years, Stacy had been her mother's primary caregiver while also raising her toddler daughter after her husband's death in Afghanistan. She'd burned through her savings, sold everything of value, and took on massive debt to pay for experimental treatments that insurance wouldn't cover. When her mother finally passed, Stacy was left with over $200,000 in medical debt. The dance world had moved on without her. At 26, she was starting over, with nothing but determination and a daughter to raise. For the past 5 years, she'd been working minimum wage jobs, sending every extra penny toward the medical bills. Tyler found court documents showing that she'd never filed for bankruptcy, never taken the easy way out. She was paying her debts honestly, slowly, at great personal cost. The building where she'd dreamed of opening her dance studio had been sold to developers. The artistic community that might have supported her had scattered. She was trapped in a cycle of survival that left no room for dreams. Tyler sat back in his chair, overwhelmed by what he'd learned. Here was a woman who had sacrificed everything for family, her career, her dreams, her financial security. She'd given up a future that would have made her wealthy and famous to care for her dying mother and raise her daughter with integrity. And yet, instead of becoming bitter or defeated, she'd maintained the grace and generosity to reach out to a sad little boy and give him back his ability to dance. The transformation in Jamie had been nothing short of remarkable. Over the past 2 months of regular visits to Bella Vista, Tyler's son had become a different child. He was engaged, curious, optimistic about the future in ways Tyler had thought might never return. "Dad," Jamie said during their drive home from the restaurant one Friday evening, "I've been thinking about Miss Stacy." "What about her?" Tyler asked, though his own thoughts had been consumed with the same subject. "She's helped me so much, but she seems sad sometimes, like when she talks about her daughter or her old dreams." Jamie paused, his 12-year-old mind working through complex emotions. "I know what it feels like to think your dreams are over, but Miss Stacy helped me see that wasn't true. Don't you think we should help her see the same thing?" Tyler felt a surge of pride in his son. Despite everything Jamie had been through, his heart was still generous, still capable of seeing beyond his own struggles to care about others. "What did you have in mind?" Tyler asked. "I don't know exactly," Jamie admitted. "But she's really talented, Dad. When she shows me dance moves, you can tell she's amazing at it. And she talks about wanting to teach kids like me. Kids who think they can't dance because they're different somehow." Tyler had been thinking along the same lines, but hearing it from Jamie confirmed what his instincts had been telling him. This wasn't about charity or pity. This was about recognizing exceptional ability and character and creating an opportunity for everyone to benefit. That weekend, Tyler began making phone calls. The old building where Stacy had dreamed of opening her studio was still available, though the price had increased substantially. Tyler made discreet inquiries about purchasing it. He contacted former colleagues from Juilliard to verify Stacy's credentials and reputation. 3 weeks later, Tyler called Stacy at the restaurant with an unusual request. Instead of their typical Friday evening dinner, he wanted to arrange a special lunch meeting at Bella Vista on Sunday, when the restaurant was closed for a private event. "I hope everything's okay with Jamie," Stacy said, concern evident in her voice. "Everything's perfect with Jamie," Tyler assured her. "In fact, that's what I want to talk to you about. Would you be able to bring Mia? I'd love to meet her, and Jamie's been asking about her." Stacy agreed, though Tyler could hear the curiosity and slight nervousness in her voice. She'd grown comfortable with Tyler and Jamie, but this felt different, more formal somehow. On Sunday afternoon, Stacy arrived at Bella Vista holding hands with her 8-year-old daughter. Mia was beautiful like her mother, with the same warm eyes and bright smile. She was clearly excited about this unusual outing, chattering enthusiastically about finally meeting the boy her mom talked about so often. "Miss Stacy," Jamie called out as they approached, his face lighting up with genuine joy. "And you must be Mia? I'm Jamie. Your mom has told me so much about you." As the children began chatting with the easy friendship that Tyler had hoped would develop, he turned to Stacy. She looked beautiful but nervous, clearly wondering what this was all about. "Stacy," Tyler began, his voice steady despite the magnitude of what he was about to do. "Over the past few months, you've given my son something I couldn't give him myself. You've shown him that his dreams don't have to end because his circumstances changed. You've helped him believe in possibilities again." Stacy smiled, but Tyler could see the confusion in her eyes. "Jamie's a special boy. He just needed someone to see his potential." "Exactly," Tyler said. "And that's what makes you so remarkable. You see potential where others see limitations. You see possibilities where others see problems." Tyler reached into his briefcase and pulled out a folder. "I've done some research on you, Stacy. I hope you don't mind, but I needed to understand the full scope of what you've sacrificed to be here today." Stacy's expression grew wary. "Mr. Ford." Tears began to form in Stacy's eyes, but Tyler continued. "I also know about the building on Maple Street where you wanted to open your dance studio, the one that was sold to developers." "How do you?" Stacy started to ask, but Tyler held up his hand. "I bought it," he said simply. The words hung in the air between them. Stacy stared at him, speechless. Stacy's hands shook as she stared at the keys Tyler had placed on the table. "I don't understand," she whispered. He opened the legal document and spread it across the table. "I want to fund the creation of the Adaptive Dance Academy. You would be the founding director, with full creative control over curriculum and methodology." Stacy looked from the document to Tyler's face, searching for some sign that this was a joke or a dream. "Tyler, I can't accept charity." "This isn't charity," Tyler interrupted firmly. "This is business. I've researched the market extensively. There are thousands of children with disabilities who could benefit from what you offer." Stacy's eyes widened as she flipped through the pages. The financial projections were serious, substantial. This wasn't a small community program. This was a comprehensive business plan for something that could change thousands of lives. "But why?" Stacy asked, her voice barely audible. "Why would you do this?" Tyler looked over at Jamie and Mia, who were laughing together as Jamie showed her some of the upper body dance moves Stacy had taught him. His son looked happier and more confident than Tyler had seen him since before the accident. "You gave my son something I couldn't," Tyler said simply. "You gave him the belief that limitations don't define us, that we can always find new ways to pursue our dreams. You showed him that being different doesn't mean being less capable." Tears were streaming down Stacy's face now. "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll consider it," Tyler said. "Say you'll let me invest in your dream, not as a favor, but as a business partner who believes in what you can accomplish." Just then, Jamie rolled his wheelchair over to the table. "Miss Stacy," he said, his voice filled with excitement, "will you teach me more dances? And maybe you could teach other kids too? Kids like me who think they can't dance?" Stacy looked down at Jamie's hopeful face, then at her own daughter's excited expression, then back at Tyler. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to believe that her dreams might not be over after all. 6 months later, the Adaptive Dance Academy was thriving beyond anyone's expectations. The renovated building on Maple Street buzzed with activity 6 days a week, filled with children of all abilities learning that movement and music could be a source of joy, regardless of physical limitations. Jamie had become one of her most dedicated students and biggest advocates. His confidence had soared as he mastered increasingly complex routines, and he'd begun mentoring newer students who were just discovering their own capabilities. "Dad, look," Jamie called out during one of their practice sessions. He was working with a young girl who had cerebral palsy, helping her find the rhythm in a simple waltz. "Emma's getting it. She's really dancing." Tyler stood in the observation area, watching his son teach another child the same lesson Stacy had taught him, that limitations existed to be transcended, not accepted. Stacy's own daughter Mia had blossomed in the environment her mother had created. The little girl who had once begged for dance lessons now spent her afternoons at the academy, helping with younger children and learning advanced techniques from her extraordinarily talented mother. I never thought I'd see her this happy, Stacy told Tyler one evening as they watched their children work together on a group routine. For so long, I felt like I was failing her, like I couldn't give her the opportunities she deserved. You gave her something more valuable than opportunities, Tyler replied. You gave her a mother who never gave up, who showed her that dreams might be delayed, but they don't have to die. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to comment and tell us what you learned. Don't forget to like and share this video so you can get more amazing videos.